A cold mist clung to the jagged stone floor of the alien marketplace, swirling around the boots of buyers and the claws of sellers. At the far edge of the outer fringe, where laws were suggestions and lives were currency, the Xerox Syndicate held their slave auctions. Under a metallic canopy humming with fluorescent fungus light, beings from 37 star systems gathered to trade flesh. In the middle of a rusting cage, a human girl no older than 16 sat cross-legged, her knees pulled to her chest. Dirt streaked her cheeks. A faint bruise colored the side of her neck. Her wrists bore the red imprint of containment bands, but her eyes, gray and unwavering, tracked everything. Primitive mammal, spat the auctioneer, a rotund chekth with iridescent scales and a voice like crushed gravel. Barely sentient, earthling, one of the last without planetary protection. Fresh, barely broken. Excellent condition for a pet plaything or pit beast bait, a cluster of armored delegates murmured among themselves. The girl didn't flinch, she didn't cry, or beg. She simply inhaled, held it and exhaled, calm and slow as if she were timing her own heartbeat. A younger slaver, a four-eyed Ivlan, squinted at the name inscribed on the intake data chip. Says her surname's Keller, he muttered to the auctioneer. Sound familiar? The older one waved it off. There's a billion Earth names, they make sounds like sneezes. Irrelevant. Behind the cage, a Yuksati noble with 3 tendrils for a face studied her posture. She's not trembling, he noted aloud, more amused than alarmed. What kind of human child doesn't tremble? She will, said the auctioneer. Once she realizes where she's going. The girl blinked slowly. Something passed behind her gaze. Not fear, not confusion. Calculation. Later, as her new owners led her to the grav transport that would take her to the palace pits, one of the junior guards leaned in. What's your name again? She looked up at him. Her voice was quiet, but it carried like a scalpel. You shouldn't have taken me. A smile ghosted across her lips. Not joy, not defiance, just inevitability. The guard took a step back and didn't know why. The rifle came apart in his hands with a soft metallic sigh, pieces folding and sliding with practiced ease. Callum Keller sat cross-legged in the dark of his stealth shuttle, the only light a dim orange glow strip running above the weapons bay. The shuttle itself was an obsolete Earth-era Mark IV infiltration craft, long since removed from active military rosters. Most wouldn't recognize it. Fewer still would know how to pilot it. He didn't need much light. Every piece of the long-range kinetic rifle had been etched into his fingers through years of muscle memory. Scope, barrel, suppressor, heat sink, stabilizer gyros, all fit together with the precision of a craftsman. Not a sound echoed in the small cabin except for the quiet clicks of steel sliding into steel. He hadn't used this rifle in almost 12 years. A small projector blinked to life on the wall behind him, cycling through fragmented images, dossiers, military files, smeared recon photos. The names beneath them shared a common pattern. Admiral Vortak neutralized. Governor Marshal Sivak neutralized. High Speaker Arenal disappeared. In every file, one tag appeared under assailant or presumed responsible. Human. Unknown origin, suspected sniper. The few who survived referred to him by myth. Not a soldier. Not even a man. Ghost. Devil. The one-bullet reaper. Callum Keller adjusted the bolt and slid it forward. Chamber ready. The silence broke with a chime from the comm receiver. An intercepted broadcast. He reached over and played the message. Some routine pirate channel blaring bounty alerts. Lot Bam Raid 821. Human female. Estimated 16 standard years. Unmodified. Claimed by Xerox Syndicate. Minor asset last name. Keller. He froze. The bolt of the rifle locked halfway. The message continued, garbled by background static and overlapping voices. But he didn't hear it anymore. Keller. That name wasn't common. He brought up the intercepted image attached to the bounty listing. It was blurry, taken from an overhead drone, but the face was clear enough. Dirty, bruised, restrained, but unmistakable. She had her mother's eyes. His breath caught in his throat, held, then left in a slow, measured exhale. His hands moved with renewed speed. The bolt snapped into place. Scope checked, bipod calibrated. Breath control software synced with his optic nerve mod. He reached for a small keepsake magnetically sealed to the wall. A torn corner of a family photo, faded and water-stained. Her mother, his sister, smiling young. Before war stole too many things. He hadn't been there when she was taken. Not again. He stared at the image of the girl. This time, he would be. Callum Keller stood up, armor folding over him like a second. Skin, matte black composite plates, low-emission thermal cloth, soft boots. He moved like fog, weapons slung across his back. Not a wasted motion. No ceremony. No anger, just focus, just math. He ran a scan of the slaver planet. Karzet 4, volcanic crust, scattered fortress towns, major slave hub in the system. The Jarok Syndicate's palace complex sat at the edge of a cliff overlooking sulfur canyons. They thought distance meant safety. They thought orbital no-fly zones and encrypted atmospheric shields meant untouchable. They were wrong. He ran a full scan, reading subterranean tunnel heat leaks and planetary pressure variances. His sniper targeting software adjusted, calculating a viable shot trajectory through 3 kilometers of geological interference. He loaded the shot configuration into his smart scope. The mission wasn't to kill them all. The mission was to kill exactly the right ones. At exactly the right time, in exactly the right order. One bullet, he whispered to himself as he stepped into the shuttle's rear hatch. Changes the system. The door opened with a quiet hiss. A barren moon stretched out before him, lit by distant star glow and the faint shimmer of a dying gas giant. Snow drifted sideways in violent gusts. Atmospheric pressure here would freeze exposed skin in minutes. His boots made no sound against the frozen rock. He vanished into the storm. The hunt had begun. Fog rolled in thick over the canyon floor, coiling around the obsidian pillars of the Jarok fortress like something alive. Above, torchlight flickered in the windless dark, more ceremonial than practical. Most of the guards relied on HUD lenses and motion sensors, which made it all the more disturbing when Unit 9 stopped responding. First, it was just silence, radio dropout near the geothermal exhaust tunnels. That wasn't uncommon, but then the patrol drone linked to them flatlined. No explosion, no power spike, just ceased transmission. A 2-man recon unit was sent out to check. They never returned. By the time the 5th group vanished without a trace, the fortress security chief, a brutish Vorkathi named Ralgar, had begun to sweat beneath his plates. What kind of local fauna is doing this? One of his subordinates hissed, twitching as their pulse rifle scanned empty snow. It's not the fauna, Ralgar muttered, kneeling beside the corpse of one of their own. The body had been returned, somehow placed right outside the main gate. Not dragged. Placed. Like a message. The head was missing. No cauterization, no burn, no thermal degradation. A clean shot. The entry wound was invisible. Until you peeled the skull apart and found the perfectly shattered spine. A calling card. No alarms had been tripped. No vehicle or biosignature had approached the fortress. Ralgar stood, his hands shaking slightly. I've seen this before. The others looked at him, waiting. During the Zenth campaign, he said quietly. Our orbital general lost his head at a secure summit. Through a triple reinforced dome, 5 clicks out. We found the casing weeks later, stuck in a crater behind the mountain. The angle, it didn't make sense. You think it's the same one? Another asked. Ralgar's voice dropped to a whisper. They called him the human ghost. The name chilled the room like a death sentence. Deep beneath the fortress, in the prisoner hold, the girl sat with her back against the wall, watching. Others were murmuring, nervous. Guards were louder, angrier. You could smell the tension. She'd planted the first seed days ago, just a whisper, casually delivered to a reptilian prisoner beside her. They made a mistake, took the wrong Keller. He'd blinked, not understanding. She repeated it slowly. They took a Keller. Then she waited. Now, it spread like wildfire. Guards started carrying extra sidearms. Some turned on each other during shift changes, accusing sabotage or betrayal. Prisoners were pulled for interrogations more frequently, but came back bruised and wide-eyed, whispering, "He's coming. He's already here." Even the guards no longer made eye contact with her. She didn't shout, didn't scream, didn't cry. She waited, like he would. Up in the canyon mist, a lone figure adjusted his scope beneath a camo blind carved into a cliff wall. Callum Keller tracked movement from 5 kilometers out. Wind correction, pulse timing, scope flicker recalibration. He waited as a slaver stepped into a shaft of torchlight, looking up at the snow-covered ridge with nervous eyes. Exhale. Pulse drop. Pressure. A whisper of a shot cracked the stillness, and the slaver dropped. No noise. Just a light flicker as his internal implants failed. Another slaver rushed to him. Crack. His arm exploded backward from a non-lethal hit, screaming. The others ran, shouting into comms, exactly as intended. Keller watched the guards cluster at the east wall, where the body was dragged, the blood trail angled. He was already gone from there, half a click south, lying prone beneath a thermal curtain, watching with calm detachment. When they turned their backs, another fell. Through the eye, slumped forward like a puppet cut from its strings. The next body wasn't just shot. It had a message carved into its armor plate, burned by micro-drone laser. "You should have asked her last name." By nightfall, the fortress was a frenzy. Slavers ran patrols in pairs, some not even trusting their own. The leadership had ordered evacuation shuttles prepared. The girl, now identified as Asset Priority, was locked in a sub-palace bunker 10 meters below the central chamber. 6 walls of reinforced alloy, anti-orbital shielding, and 2 squads of elite guards. Ralgar stood in the war chamber, his mandibles twitching. "He's inside already," he said flatly. "Doesn't matter if we seal the vents, doesn't matter if we jam the sky." The other commanders looked at him like he was mad, but they were all afraid. One by one, they'd reviewed the footage, what little there was. Shadows moved, slavers died. The bodies came back placed, never randomly discarded. It was surgical. It was intimate. One clan captain asked, trembling, "What does he want?" Ralgar closed his eyes. Her, and then quietly, us dead. None of them slept that night. The fortress trembled beneath its own weight. A ripple coursed through the walls as the first precision charge detonated. Far below, just above the geothermal maintenance sublayer. It wasn't enough to collapse anything, but it severed auxiliary. Power blinked out internal sensors and, most critically, shut down magnetic locks across non-critical systems. Elsewhere, prison doors creaked open in unison. Then the lights died. Sirens chirped once, then glitched into silence. Inside the central control tower, a slaver tech clawed at dead panels. "We've lost Zone 2. Zone 3. Something's—" A bullet shattered the glass beside him, taking his second mouth with it. No one saw where it came from. They never did. Chaos poured into the halls. Prisoners poured out. Some wild-eyed and crazed, others cold and deliberate. Guards tried to regain control, but the shadows held more than convicts. Every corner seemed to echo with silence too deep to be natural. It was surgical. An attack that never announced itself. In a subterranean passage coated with steam and coolant mist, Callum Keller moved like death incarnate. His rifle was slung. Behind him now. This was the last leg, and there would be no need for distance. He used only what he had to. 2 tranquilizers, 1 thrown knife, and a suppressed sidearm. Every movement was muscle memory. Every decision efficient, no flourishes. Single slaver rounded the corridor. Keller pressed forward. The man dropped before he even saw his killer. The corridor opened into a vault reinforced with alloy and adorned with the golden emblems of the Jarok Syndicate. Guards stood posted around the reinforced door, twitchy, eyes scanning too many angles. They never noticed the vent hatch slowly unscrew above them. By the time one turned toward the noise, a shaped charge slid down and clicked into place. 3 seconds later, half the entrance was smoke and screaming. The door to the inner chamber stood dented, scorched, but intact. From behind it, silence. Then footsteps. The interior lockdown was manual, old tech. Keller twisted the crank like winding a clock. It took effort. Every inch clicked like counting down to judgment. When the door opened, she was waiting. She stood in the center of the room, shackled, but upright, calm. Her eyes found his through the fog and dust. She didn't cry, she didn't even blink. "Took you long enough," she said. He didn't smile. He didn't have to. He stepped forward and undid the restraints in silence. She rubbed her wrists and looked up at him. "You bring the rifle?" "It's waiting." "Good," she said. The central throne chamber exploded with tension as clan leader Threxen stormed in, fully armored and flanked by 6 elite guards, each trembling. "We'll offer ransom," he barked into the smoke. "A warship, territory, even blood compensation." No reply, just the faint sound of boots on stone. Keller stepped into view, the girl behind him. Threxen's words died in his throat. "You don't have to do this," the alien snarled. "She's safe, see? She's not harmed." Callum Keller didn't speak. He raised the rifle, breath slow, steady, just like always. One shot. The clan leader's head burst like overripe fruit. The guards froze. He didn't. 3 more shots. 3 more deaths, each one before they could even raise a weapon. The last 2 turned to run. The girl stepped forward. He handed her his sidearm. She walked past her uncle and fired once, twice, each round finding its mark in fleeing backs. She stood over the last one, an older slaver, wounded and crawling, begging. "I told you," she said softly. "You took the wrong Keller." She fired. Flames licked the sky behind them as the fortress collapsed under the timed detonations. Prisoners ran free into the wild canyons, dragging wounded, shouting thanks, curses, prayers. None approached the pair walking, calmly down the main slope. By dawn, the Xerox Syndicate was ash. Their names scrubbed from power, their archives shattered. The girl never looked back. On Earth's far colony of Virella Prime, the snow was soft and clean. The sky silent. A young woman crouched low beside a rifle 3 times too big for her, frame, eye scanning a distant ridge. Beside her, Callum Keller sat cross-legged watching, silent. She exhaled, slow, controlled, pulled the trigger. The can on the rock exploded cleanly. She grinned. He said nothing, but he nodded. They sat together as the wind whispered over the cliffs, and somewhere, in the dark corners of space, slavers and warlords told new stories about the sniper who could see through walls and the girl who bore his name. They learned what Keller means, her voice echoed, like a vow, and so will the rest.